Welcome to Heather Ewing, the Commercial Real Estate Rundown. I am your host, Heather Ewing, and today I am excited to share. I have Carole Schaeffer. She's the Vice President of Business Development at Freedy & Associates here in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. And Carole, welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me here with you today and get a chance to talk a little bit about fun with zoning and
things in all Madison. The stuff people don't like talking about, right?
Oh, everyone wakes up on a Tuesday morning wanting to talk about zoning.
Exactly. Well, on that note, Carole, help our audience get to know you a little bit more.
Well, thanks. So, as you mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Freedy & Associates. We are a general contractor based out of Reedsburg, Wisconsin. And then we have a second office here in downtown Madison. Been with the company about 3 years now, and my primary role is going out and finding us projects to build. We do a lot in the hospitality and retail space, hotels, and then other just general commercial construction, as well as high-end executive homes. That's kind of first and foremost what I do for them, and then additionally keep the client relationships going. But I have an extra little special talent in that I've spent the last 17 years working in local government issues with the development and construction community, specifically when it comes to the realm of zoning, conditional use approvals, and getting yourself through the entitlement process. So if you're a customer of or a client of Freedy's, that kind of comes as a value add with what we do to help our clients get through the process. But Freedy's been kind enough to enable me to continue that as a full-on side hustle, if you will, under Schaeffer Consulting, because there's some folks that need help that don't really fit in our wheelhouse in terms of what we do, maybe the 10 to 15 story buildings, or a client that isn't building a building but just needs help. So I am able to help with everything from getting your municipal entitlements through just getting something passed through the ordinance process at the city of Madison or surrounding communities, to doing strategic partnership consulting. So it's been really fun to be able to kind of satisfy both of those parts of me that really love the development side of it and the process side of it, as well as going out there and finding really exciting and cool construction projects for Freedy to do. So it's been a lot of fun, and it kind of suits my personality. And that when I was a kid, they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer in kindergarten was everything in the world. And I
can see that.
I mean, it's like, if you look at what I'm a member of, it's like I'm on the board for the Symphony Orchestra and NAOP and Smart Growth and the Madison Music City Advisory Committee and the Salvation Army, and run the Madison Downtowners with my good friend Vic. And so I just one of those people I think really likes to be involved in a lot of different things. So that has stayed consistent over the years.
Right, definitely. And I think too, having known you for several years too, when I think of you, the word connector comes to mind. And I would say you're definitely a great connector. And that's where I can speak personally too, because you've helped me and my clients over the years with some of those different municipal approvals and guidance, and just a great resource for that. So, I'm so glad that Freedy does allow you to continue that, because it's such a great adjunct to the construction, because you don't see any other contractor that offers that service. And it's huge because each of the municipalities are very unique, and anyone that's tried to develop in Madison, they know it's not an entry-level course. There's definitely a lot of hoops and jumps and things. So it's very satisfying when you get it across the finish line.
Well, we have a lot of clients as well that they aren't really big, sophisticated developers. They're smaller, they're sole proprietors, or that, they have a specific job. And for them, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And so it's hard to even ask the right questions. And, I feel like being that kind of a resource makes it a great thing for our clients, because we're able to tell them, okay, here's your date you want to be in your building. You need to start here because you're going to have to go through Plan Commission, Urban Design Commission, or you'll need a new CSM, or, whatever those cases may be. Like, being able to take that burden off of their shoulders is, and in both capacities. Like, I like being a problem solver, and to your point, a connector, like putting all those pieces together and And at the end of the day, we want somebody who's got a great project or who's got something successfully through the process. So
I agree completely. Definitely. It helps it to get across the finish line, because if you can't define a time range, I know when I'm writing offers and deals, you just can't assign it, and you can't get anything signed. So it's an integral part of getting things signed and things developed. So, this leads me into the question too of what's your why? I think you've kind of been highlighting it, but as you take a step back and reflect on your career and everything that you've done, what is your impetus or motivation, or as you always hear, what's your why?
I think that's kind of changed over the years. When I first got started in my career as a young single mother it was survival. It was like, I want to feed my kid and kind of grind it out. And some of my early jobs were not, things I would have probably picked for my favorite thing to do, but it also, I learned a ton of things through that process. But it's kind of shifted as it's now not just survival mode, but now I find joy by being able to, like you said, connect the dots, bring people together. And I love driving around downtown and being like, I was a part of that building. I was a part of that building. But for, this little amendment that we got, we wouldn't have been able to even put that in there. So I think it's like helping solve problems for people and connecting the dots for people and being able to bring ideas into iteration. And that's just something that, whether it's in my career or in my life, I think part of that stems from, I grew up, my dad was a pastor in a small town, and so I was involved with everything, youth group and choir, and, going to the nursing summits and singing to people, being someone that that has just been ingrained in my being from, my childhood on, is that it's beyond just ticking a box and getting a paycheck. It's a lot about, having something that you really believe in that you're doing, and being involved in your community and helping other people, realize their dreams. So I think that just kind of goes back to the way I was raised. I didn't even realize it. So I was talking to someone once, and they're like, what, why do you get involved in so many things? I'm like,
right.
I never really knew any other way. That's just what our family did. That's just what you do.
Right. Right. Isn't that great though? And, kind of like you always hear of how people acquired their success, and they always say it's in looking back that you can see how the pieces came together. You couldn't have planned it, right? Or you didn't necessarily see it at the time, but in looking back, it's like, oh, okay, as you're sharing these different aspects of family and ways that you've been wired, just you really use them to catapult you forward. And that's what I love. So that also leads us into mindset. So you and I both know the importance of mindset and how that carries through in working with clients, different projects, career, personal, everything else in between. What's a tip or something maybe that you've learned mindset related that's really helped you to expand and extend forward?
I think one thing that I've gotten better at is just give yourself a little grace, because I tend to be a perfectionist. I tend to be someone who wants, like I said, to do everything, and I'm trying to do everything. And sometimes you can get spread too thin, and that becomes overwhelming or exhausting. And I'm human. So you have those, anxieties or self-doubt that happens, and then you just have to kind of do that reset and be like, you know what, you're going to land on your feet. You're going to not only land on your feet, you're going to keep running, and it's going to be, but I think that's an ongoing, thing you have to do with yourself, is to
definitely
slack, give yourself some grace, recognize, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get through those years? How did I manage that? And so it's like, anytime I'm looking at stuff, it's like, okay, you know what, you're going to figure this out. It's going to be, it's going to be okay. You're going to move forward. It's just an ongoing conversation with yourself, and because it's easy to go down that rabbit hole. I think everybody's
right.
You're sitting around and you're like, what is going on in my life, whether, personal, professional, that moment. And I just really work hard, whether it be through meditation or, going, I really love going to live music, going to see a concert, going, just for a long walk, whatever it is, just to kind of give myself a reset and get back into that. Okay. So I was talking to some friends the other day about this. I'm like, do you ever have one of those days where you're just not in the right mindset? You're or you're there, it feels like everything's going the wrong way. And so like, I'll do something like again, go take a walk or just take a nap, whatever it is to kind of reset so that you can get back on track. I think it's easy.
Which is essential. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of my questions of, you're busy, you've got you're on a lot of different boards, helping with a lot of different projects, obviously busy with Freedy, and then also your consulting. And to your point, I think those are some great examples, because I think until you create the habit of having your 3 go-tos or whatever it might be, it's like, we know that I'm the runner. That's my form of nature de-stress. But those are great examples, because I think it's important that it doesn't matter what it is, as long as people identify something and then take that time, because I think just a shift in physicality, posture, it then does lead through to the mind and how you feel, and then how you do pick back up at a high level. So couldn't agree with you more. So here's a fun one. And this is what I always love asking people, right? So we get to go to the imagination here. And if you were to go into a time machine, right, and you were to go 5 to 10, maybe 20 years forward, right? What is something that you would tell yourself? What is something that you need to know, something you need to do, let go of, any type of advice? What might that be?
If I could sit my 20-something self down and have a conversation. First of all, I think, again, because of me being a bit of a perfectionist and always wanting to have everything lined up to feel like I qualify for it, or I'm good enough for it, or I can do it, be like, let me just tell you, there's a lot of people Forrest Gumping their way through things. Do it. You're like, honestly, like, buy real estate. You'll figure out a way to do it. Because if I would have done that 20 years ago, that would have been really awesome. But also just like, don't be afraid to go after some of these things that I think I didn't even look at as a possibility, because I was like, well, I don't have family in that, or I don't have money, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, or I don't have all of the qualifications on that list. I think I would, go back and be like, listen, how how many people I know that have gotten there, like the fake it till you make it sort of thing. But it's like, you don't even necessarily have to fake it. You have more qualifications and you have more skill sets in line than you really realize you do. And it's going to take you a long time to figure that out. But I'm telling you now.
No, it's so true, right? So of kind of like shining the spotlight on yourself. And I think that's where, to your point, it's so easy to do for others. And, I can definitely relate to you with that recovering perfectionist, because I think it does slow a person down. But I think the neat thing is, just having watched you excel over the years more and more, that I would definitely say you are stepping into that space of power, and you perform at a high level, but also of like, what, perfectionist doesn't still have to stay in this route. So I'm excited for you to see your career continue to unfold, and really helping the Madison and Dane County community and beyond through all of your work. So last but not least, what would you say does living fully mean to you? It's a deep one.
It is kind of a deep question. And I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I would have had a much harder time even wrapping my head around that, because again, you get so caught up in just doing the things, you don't really think about the things all of the time. And I feel one of the silver linings of the shutdown during 2020 is that, as someone who is, I'm an ambivert who skews extrovert. It's like, you don't have an introverted side. I'm like, I do. I really do. You just don't, because you don't see me, because I'm full hermit during those times. You see me, I'm full extrovert, but there's a whole quiet Carole. That said, like, being forced to be alone, because I lived by myself at the time. My son had, had moved out, and I didn't have a significant other. So it was just kind of me, myself, and I. And that, the silver lining of that was that I was able to kind of re-explore some things that I really love to do. Like, I took classes, I practice piano every single day, which is something that's a deep passion of mine. It's probably picked up on his music, but playing piano, writing again. I love learning. For me, like learning something new every day is absolutely imperative. Whether it be going down the rabbit hole in Wikipedia and because I heard an interesting factoid and then I find out, the entire lineage of some minor lord in England. But it's just, I'm studying German and Spanish. And so being able to like really realize like that there was all these other facets of my life that sometimes get lost in all of that freneticism. And now moving forward, I promised myself I'm not going to lose those things. I'm going to keep that peace because living fully to me is not just focusing on your career or taking care of everybody else, but that mix of taking care of yourself so that you're a better person for the people that you love in your life. And also, obviously, fostering your career. But I think that really was the silver lining for me in looking at how living fully encompasses all of those things. And I am very proud to say that I am still doing my German and Spanish every single day.
That's my girl. Nicely done.
My piano has not been every single day, but I keeping those things that are really important for me to do to feel like, if something tragic happened and I was gone tomorrow, that, people would talk about me and be like, she really lived. And
definitely. I love that. Well, on that note, my dear, please share with our guests, how can they find out more on you and also reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I don't know if I should spell the whole thing out here, but it's Carole Schaeffer, and that's Carole, and Schaeffer is SCHAEFFER. You can also reach me through the Freedy website at www.friede.com. Those are probably the easiest ways to find me because then you can email me through that or send me a note on LinkedIn and I can give you other contact information. So those are probably the best ways to track me down. But I really appreciate you having me today. It's been great having this conversation with you. So thank you.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on, Carole. Thank you, everyone. Until next time.